Welcome. This is a little introduction to the talk that I've been giving. It's called Facing Death So We Can Live Life More Fully. In November, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, squamous cell. There's a secondary tumor here, and the primary tumor is nasopharynx. It's basically in the nose, in the back of the nose passage. And I went through standard treatment up to the point of they wanted to do a second biopsy. They did a first biopsy here. I went through all the standard tests, the CT scan, the PET scan, and they found out, what they needed to find out. But they wanted to do one additional biopsy, and that's when I dropped out of it. The treatment success is about 60% for this kind of cancer, and I researched a lot, and there's much better success rate with so-called alternative cancer treatments. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to Mexico to a clinic there to have treatment. I mean, I'm doing all the right things now with diet and a whole bunch of different treatments, protocols to fight cancer cells, and it's actually shrinking. It's about half as large as it was, and I suspect that when I get the tests in Mexico, it's going to be much better in a few weeks. But regardless, although I'm speaking as a Gaudiya Vaishnava, Krishna devotee, but I'm also speaking as a fellow human being. Cancer is going to strike 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women, so this is a very common disease. And there's many aspects of it. There's the physical aspect, there's the emotional aspect. From my perspective, there's a spiritual aspect. So I'm really thinking about all those things and what the lesson is for me personally. So I'm speaking from a spiritual orientation as a human being. I'm 65 years old, so I'm a baby boomer. I was a product of the 60s. My high school was in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, and I was greatly affected by that counterculture, and that carried me to spiritual search, because I was living in the Redwood Forest in Muir Woods and Bootjack Camp above it, and every day was a search for the truth. I was reading spiritual literature of the world and really understanding that this was something missing from my life. I was very dissatisfied with my life, and it didn't seem to fit into the status quo at the time. So there was an existential crisis, and I concluded I needed to be a monk in some tradition. So I studied all these different orders, Christian orders and yoga societies, and then I was saw the devotees of Krishna chanting on the street, and that I studied the literature, and it spoke to me, and been doing this for 45 years. But regardless, my message is really very basic human message. All the things that I've studied, all the things that I've learned, spiritually, in personal growth, in therapy, because of my particular family background, abusive alcoholic family, had to deal with that, had to forgive my parents, had to make peace with my past. So all the things that I've studied, I feel that urgency to be able to share. And now I've been given a notice that I may not be here much longer. Of course, I may live 20 years, who knows? But all of us are near death. That's really the point. A lot of ways we can frame it. Die before dying. I had hospice training where we helped people do the life review before they died. Life review, if you're familiar with it, is talked about in the near-death experience literature, in the Buddhist texts, in the Hindu texts. It means you see your whole life before you, from the soul point of view. And you see yourself, and then you're in the other person's shoes, and you experience what it was like to be dealt with, however you dealt with them, whether out of love or kindness. So it's very important that everyone understands what their mission is on this planet. I mean, you can look at it in a lot of different perspectives. To be kinder, to be, when people come back from a near-death experience, and it's like how they hear how much have you loved, how much have you learned, how much have you given. So that's what it's about to me. So this is my attempt to give to you and whoever listens to the talk, and it'll eventually be a book. I have a couple of books that I've published. So I hope that you might consider me as a speaker at your temple, at your church, at your yoga center, or whatever kind of a place you have where people come who are interested in the subject of, alternative healing, spiritual development, just being a better human being. There's many different ways that I can go with this, because I believe there's one spiritual system in the universe, has many different expressions. So I feel, although, this may seem very sectarian, I don't want to hide the fact, but I am very broad. I see the spirituality in many people in many different walks of life, in many different paths. So I'm here to encourage you on your particular journey, your particular path, whatever that might be. And if it involves healing from a disease, that's another topic. That we have a tremendous power through prayer, power through diet, affirmations, changing the way you think about things. These are all topics that I'm very familiar with and that I advocate. So thank you very much.